Namaste to all of you. Welcome to tonight's class. So let us start with a prayer. First the Sahana Bhavatu and then the prayer for Panchadashi. So we will do both. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah Shri Shankarananda Gurupadam Bhujanmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane. So I thought I would spend a few minutes just explaining the prayer that Swami Vidyaranya has written through his Guru, Swami Shankarananda. So Swami Shankarananda and his many of his disciples, the most famous of them being, of course, Swami Vidyaranya, is recognized to be a very shining beacon in the clarification of the Sampradaya from time to time, like Adi Shankara. He also has a very high position in the Parampara, in the Sampradaya. So he is Swami Vidyaranya's Guru, Swami Shankarananda. And in fact, he has written a number of commentaries. And Swami Dayananda Saraswati, my Guru, likes his Gita commentary the best out of any of them, including Adi Shankara. He used to say, I prefer Shankarananda's commentary. And for a while there was a Hindi translation, and I also followed it for a while. But I have not seen that book. I've mislaid it somewhere. So anyway, so this prayer verse is an interesting one and an important one. What it is saying is, I'll repeat it again in Sanskritam first. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Maha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. This is the prayer. So what it says is that my namaskara to the lotus feet of my Guru. So it says Shankarananda Guru Pada Ambu Janmane. So the one which is the flower which is grown in the waters of his feet, which is a lotus. So lotus is lotus feet. And there's a lot of significance to why it is called a lotus feet. We'll go over that in some other time. So my namaskara to him. Then in the second line he says, this is the important one, Savilasa Maha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. So Karmane is the suffix for the Guru, means who has one job. Graha Grasaika Karmane. Eka Karmane. He wants to do one thing only. He's not doing a lot of other things, just one thing. And what is that? He says, Savilasa Maha Moha Graha. So Graha means a crocodile. And the one who destroys the crocodile, which is in the form of Maha Moha. Eka Karmane. So here Swami Maheshananji, I remember this. This is just from memory. I was just sitting here saying maybe I should just explain this. So here Swami Maheshananji pointed out very interestingly, when I started reading this about, 6-7 years ago, it's a very interesting thing to see that he is killing the crocodile with a lotus. Killing the crocodile with a lotus. Crocodile is well known to have one of the toughest skins out of any animal kingdom in the world. They even have a hard time cutting it. It is so hard to cut. It's like iron. And to destroy it with the gentlest of the flowers, which is a lotus, very gentle. And he says this is the amazing part. So let's understand how this is the case. So the Mahamoha Graha means that this is the biggest delusion that we human beings can encounter, and it is in the form of a very destructive crocodile. The crocodiles are, as you know, they are hungry beasts, and they can, you have to be very careful. They can just chop your leg off, and the whole body, in fact. So there's something very dangerous. And this is in the form of a Mahamoha. So what is this Mahamoha? The Mahamoha crocodile is our taking my Jivatvam as my reality. This is the Mahamoha. And it's a very dangerous reality, it's a very dangerous situation, because there cannot be anything worse than this really in the entire creation. There cannot be anything worse than that. To take an unlimited, free, happy individual that I am, with the same form as Ishvara, Brahman, which is the topic of this chapter, to take that person to be, you know what we take ourselves to be. Extremely limited, very much suffering, subject to time, subject to place, subject to death, subject to the diseases, very afraid of coronavirus. This is exactly what our situation is. This is what is called Mahamoha. So it is very much like you have a bad dream and you cannot get out of it, and you are now suffering as the dream character, and there is no reason for it, but you are suffering. And so until you wake up, and so really speaking, the waking up is the waking up is the process of eating up your dream character who is suffering. So here, to close off the loop, Swami Maheshananji pointed out that, listen, this is a very interesting thing, that even though the lotus is very soft, and even though the crocodile is very tough, you almost have to kill it with a bullet. You cannot beat it. You just cannot beat it to death. And even though it is such a disparity, and yet with the right mechanism, you can easily destroy it. And of course what this means is that if you see that the crocodile is a dream crocodile, and in the dream you're trying to beat it and it's really running after you. It's gotten out of the pond in Florida. You have a lot of crocodiles, and you're sitting there by the beach, and it has gotten hold of your leg and you're trying to beat it. You can't beat it. The only thing you can do is to wake up and realize that the crocodile was false. So Swami Maheshananji says, this is the job and this is the only job that my Guru has. It's an amazing summary of the prayer in one verse, which says, my salutations to Sri Shankarananda, my Guru, who just by educating me is able to completely disable all the problems of my life. Just amazing. Anyway, so that is the translation of the prayer verse, which comes in the very beginning of the very first chapter of Panchadashi. I thought I'd spend a few minutes on that. Okay, I spent some time this last week kind of thinking about this class, because as you know, we kind of spontaneously put it together. We didn't really have a big plan. We didn't have any recruitment. We didn't have any registration. We didn't have any flyers to send out and so on. We just started it. And so I was just thinking where to go from here, what to do, and so on. And I spent quite a bit of time this last week thinking about it. So let me share my plans, my thinking on that. So what I'm thinking is that we are going to keep it into a short series. And at this point in time, including today's class, which is about a quarter over already, we will only spend 4 or 5 classes on this chapter 11, called the Yogananda of Brahmananda, the Thoughts on Happiness. This is the title that we have given it. And so we are only going to spend maybe 4, maybe 5 classes. And if we take the 5th class, then it will be on May the 19th, Tuesday. Because on the Thursday of that week, we may start the Purusha Suktam class. I say may because I am not yet sure that we will get over the threshold of 20 new students. This is what my threshold is, and I'd like to stick to that. And so far, only 5 new students have registered, and so we have far to go. It's very possible that class may not even start. I'm depending on many of the people that have been sending it to their people, and hopefully between now and then this recruitment will pick up. But it may or may not start. We'll see. If that class does start, then I think 4 per week will be too much for me, and I would wind up this happiness class. So with that in mind, here's what I have done, and this is what my plan is. I have gone through the entire chapter a couple of times with a view to find out what are the main topics within these 134 verses of the 11th chapter. And I've really sort of borrowed the ideas from Swami Paramarthananda, who does a superb job of grouping some verses together as a topic, and says from verse number 7 to 19 in the Gita, this is the topic and this is what we're going to talk about it. I think it's a great idea. I have not been doing it, but I'm going to borrow that. In fact, I have already this week. So what I did was, I already came up with about, I don't have the exact number, I think about 10 or 12 subtopics. I'll tell you what the main topic is in a minute, but there are about 8 to 10, maybe 12 subtopics that support the main topic. And so I have actually gone through and figured out what those subtopics are. Almost figured it out. I'm not completely done yet. And then I think what I will do in the next 4 to 5 classes is to take it subtopic by subtopic and just talk on it. And we not go into the details of each and every verse, but to really have the conceptual kernel that is contained in these subtopics and be able to spend reasonable amount of time so you can get some thoughts out of it. This is what I'm going to do. I was actually hoping to present it to you today, all of them, and probably just go through the subtopics, but I wasn't able to finish this. So This is the plan, and I will send you maybe a document later on with what the subtopics are. I'm developing that, and maybe in another week or maybe 10 days. So you will have a written record of what is being taught. What I'm not going to be able to do, which I started doing and was taking up too much of the time, is to actually have the verses in Sanskrit with the translation, all 134 of them. I did about 60 of them, and I think 20 of them are already on the website, but I may run out of time. I think going into a conceptual idea of what the overall vision is and what are the subtopics would be a better use of my time and your time. So this is what my plan is. Okay, I thought I'd just share that with you. Now, as I get into the first few subtopics today, I think we will tackle a few of them. Please keep in mind that the teachers of the Acharyas of Vedanta are very careful in articulating three aspects of the knowledge, which many of the students are already familiar with, which are Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava. So Shruti means what is the view of Shastra, the view of wisdom. Yes, this is the right way. This works. This is the way to follow. This is what is called Shruti. So this is the advice of Ishvara himself, really, saying this is what you should be thinking about. This is what you should follow. This is what you should know. So this is what is called Shruti. The voice of knowledge, authority, and so on. Then the second thing, as you know, is that the Shruti itself knows that all of us are born with this Mahamoha that we spoke of, that I take myself to be a body-mind complex. I have a hard time seeing that I cannot be this. This is called a Mahamoha. This is not an ordinary, this is not like a mosquito that's bothering me. It is a crocodile, very tough to conquer. And so the Shruti knows this, and it also knows that just by telling you this is the way things are, you may or may not get it. It may take lives for you to do it, and people just get it. They've already prepared their minds from the previous births for a long time. So the Shruti knows this. So what the Shruti says is, now go to work and chew on it. Think about it. Try to poke holes in it. And don't do it independently. Don't do it randomly. But here is the way to, in fact says, here is the way to display your logic in your mind. This is how your reason should be. So even the Yukti is helped by the Shruti, because it requires a lot of Shraddha. You can always fold your hands and he says, I don't believe in this at all. This doesn't make any sense. You're free to do that. But if you really want to understand, then both of these are important. And then the final one, it must match with your Anubhava. And so all three of these instruments have to be employed by the teaching. And in the 11th chapter, this is done. So please keep it in mind. I will also describe to you the subtopics which will highlight one or more of these. Sometimes the Shruti, sometimes the Yukti, sometimes the Anubhava. And when you surround this conceptualization from all the three sides, then you have a chance to really grapple with this and to understand it the way it should be done. So please keep that in mind. All right. With that, let us get started. Let me first describe to you the main topic of the 11th verse, which is the main topic of the last 5 chapters of Panchadashi, which is called Brahmananda. And the first chapter of this 5-chapter series is called Yogananda in Brahmananda. And so this is the topic, and I'll explain it to you, and then we will go into some of the subtopics today. Okay? All right. So the overall topic, and by the way, this we have done already in the last couple of classes, so I will go rather quickly into this. But in terms of structuring it in the way of an outline, I think it's good to start from verse number 1 rather than verse number 5 or 6 that we were on last week. So the verse number 1, of course, gives the overall topic, as it normally does, in the sense of saying, here is what I'm going to tell you. Then the middle portion is the telling, and the last portion is, here is what I just told you. This is how the package is wrapped, even in good speeches, good classes, all that. So this is the same topic. Number 1, the topic is that the goal of everyone alive is to have unconditional happiness in their lives. Very obvious, incontrovertible. You cannot just say no. Okay, that being the case, until you know the nature of Brahman, which is Ananda, which is nothing other than you, because Atma and Brahman are not two different things. It is the same thing, it is the same space. So until you know Brahman's nature is Ananda, which means your innate nature is Ananda, unqualified Ananda. Until you know this, and I don't. Why don't I know it? Because for the same thing, Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane, that I am taking my dream character to be myself. I may be a very happy, well-rewarded, rich person in life, but in my dream, which is nightmarish, I am wanting in a number of things. I don't have enough clothes, I'm cold, I don't have any money, people are not opening their doors to me, and I'm miserable. And so my miserability is a function of a Mahamoha, which is a dream. And so therefore, I don't know that my nature is unlimited Ananda. And so Swami Vidyaranya says that if the goal of everybody's life is unqualified joy, the only way to know that is to see that Brahman's Swarupa, its nature, is nothing but Ananda. It's not as though it becomes happiness. It's not as though it becomes happy. It is happiness. And the same thing is true for you, because you and Brahman are one and the same. But you're not seeing this right. So until you see it, you are not going to fulfill your dream of becoming unqualified happiness in your life. And this is something like, we have taken that example someplace else, that the sunlight is everywhere. And for creation, you need sunlight. For any kind of an activity, you need sunlight. Things don't happen in dark. You bump into things not knowing what's happening, and so you need light and you need sunlight. So the sunlight is everywhere. And that means that if you are a room space with some walls in there, open walls, you are also nothing but sunlight alone. But if you close the windows and close yourself completely, you can be a dark room space. This is an important thing to see. This is exactly what is happening in our lives. That my basic nature is unqualified happiness, but I don't know it. That's not my experience. Why? Because I have covered myself with some muck which prevents me from seeing that my basic value is that of Ananda. And so this is the main topic of the 11th chapter. And all the subtopics are deployed for you to try to understand this amazing fact. Because my beginning part is, we know how we get happiness, just small things here and there. But we have no idea that our basic nature is Ananda. And why that is the case, this is why I don't get it and what to do about it, how to go about it, is an attempt in 134 verses to explain that. So that is the main topic. Okay? So, that being the case, now let us start on the first subtopic. If you want to write notes, fine, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, so you don't have to. So the first subtopic goes from verses number 1 through 10. And the purpose of this subtopic is that this main topic, which was articulated by Swami Vidyaranya, says, don't take my word for it. There's one person who's saying it. And how he could be wrong. I'm not sure that this is so correct. He says, please, let me tell you that what I am saying is affirmed by all the Shruti texts in Vedanta, in Vedas. All of them. This is the single purpose. So, the subtopic of verses number 1 through 10 is affirmation by Shruti. And it cites many, many examples. Again, as I said, I'm not going to go through that. We did a little bit of that in the last week, where we took some verses from Taittiriya Upanishad and so on. But in this new way of tackling 11th chapter rather, we are not going to go through individually. So I'm just going to tell you about some concepts that are contained in these subtopics. And in this subtopic, it says that, and so several Upanishads are cited: Taittiriya Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, Shveta Shvatara Upanishad, amongst many others. And so he says here, he cites the direct Shruti Vakyas that say exactly the same thing in a different way. So, for example, it says that the knower of Brahman becomes free. So he talks about crossing over all sorrows, becoming fearless, which went through that last week, Abhayam Prapti. So becoming fearless, And also another point is that you are not touched by karma-based punya papa, because one of the contentions of the karma kanda, those who are Dvaitins, they believe in Vedas but they are Dvaitins, they feel that karma is supreme. If you have past karmas, there is jnanam just by knowledge. We see this every day. Some of my students also tell me, and I also have discussions with some people, they'll say, what is all this jnanam business? You know, karma is the most supreme. We went through this in the Karika, the various thoughts that people have. Time is supreme, karma is supreme. And so here in this one, he cites as saying, doesn't matter whether it is karma or not karma, it is like they're all in a dream. And if you wake up from the dream, that what you did in karma and not karma and punya and papa in the dream, it's gone and nothing to do with it. When you have a vision of the rope clearly, the snake is gone. And so this is another topic that is also given. Then all doubts are gone. This is a very important thing. All doubts are gone. And so there's a very famous vakya, Vidyate Hridaya Granthi. Vidyate Hridaya Granthi. Hridaya Granthi is the doubt. And what is the doubt? As we were just discussing the Mahamoha, the doubt is, and this is the same topic that we are taking in the introduction to Drik Driksha Viveka, that really speaking, you are mixing up Atma and Anatma. You're mixing them up. How are you mixing it up? Because even they don't touch each other, you have tightly come together like this. Tightly. It's like a knot, K-N-O-T, knot. The knots of the heart. So Hridaya Granthi means the knot of the heart. The knot of the heart is called the thinking. Thinking meaning that the body's gunas are taken to be my gunas. If the body is old, I am old. This is the Granthi, Hridaya Granthi. And so if some teacher comes in and says that no, you know, asango hi ayam purusha, you are not connected at all. And I don't want to be impolite to the guru, because the guru is being very sincere and so on and so forth. But inside my mind says, what is he talking about? That's not my experience. How do I get rid of this? This is not possible. This is called the doubts of the mind. So when all these proposals, the various arguments, the very reasons are given, slowly the mind says, interesting, very, very interesting. And this has all come in some form or the other later on in this chapter also. But what it means is that doubts are removed. Doubts are removed. And so Swami Maheshanandji in his many of his books and talks, he says this is one of our biggest problems. We are not able to clear our doubts. On the surface we'll say, yeah, that makes sense, of course, yes, I understand. But this is the issue. Remember in the very first day we said that no, Brahma is all power. Ishvara is Sarva Shaktiman. But this coronavirus is very strong. You know what that means? This is an oxymoron. Sarva Shaktiman means that he is all powerful. And that means the coronavirus should not even be there. And if it is there, then his all powerfulness is punctured. He's not all powerful. So he cannot control coronavirus, he cannot control flu virus, he cannot control cancer, he cannot control this. What kind of a Sarva Shaktiman is he? So this is disingenuous on my part. That on one hand, on one side of the mouth, I'm saying, oh yeah, he's very powerful and so on. And on the other side of the mouth, I'm very afraid of his lack of power. This is not the right understanding of Brahman. And so here also the same thing, that the teacher is saying, the Atma and Anatma are completely different. And you'll say, yeah, that makes sense. In the next business, if something bites you, you start scratching and saying, somebody bit me. Hey, somebody bit the skin, the body, and it's not the Atma. Anyway, doubts are there. And so this is what I was saying, that in the affirmation of the Shruti, all these things are said in this subtopic, crosses the Shoka, becomes fearless, Abhaya Praptihi, karma-based, Punya Papa, don't touch him. In other words, this is a good statement, that if you wake up, then all problems of the dream are gone. So, this is the first topic, number 1 through 10, which is again the confirmation and affirmation of the Shruti Vakyas to confirm what the main topic is said by Swami Vidyaranya is correct. Yes, that is true. That is true. Okay. Next subtopic, number 2. This goes from verse number 11 to 26. Verses 11 through 26, about 16 verses. And sometimes the boundaries are somewhat, I wouldn't say vague, but they are soft boundaries, because sometimes the first line of a verse belongs to the previous one, subtopic, and the last line of a verse belongs to the subtopic of the next one. And sometimes it kind of slides into from one topic to the other. So it's not very clear, but more or less I have decided that this is enough. I think this is the subtopic. What is the subtopic on the verse number 11 to 26? An examination and analysis of the nature of Ananda. Because that is the main focus of the 11th chapter, Ananda. This is a very interesting thing. This is something that I remember from another exposition by Swami Maheshananji. It was very useful. I'd never thought of it that way until he brought it up. He says that if you look at, it's interesting that we had talked about this opening prayer where I mentioned that the Mahamoha is a firm decision by me that this is who I am. This is who I am. I look like this, I behave like this, I talk like this, I was born on a certain day. This is me. And this is the Mahamoha. This is not me. This is an appliance. I am the electricity, this is the appliance. I am the fire, this is just an iron ball. Not me. But I take myself to be that. So in a way, another way to look at this is that this is my reflection in the mirror of the mind, as we have been talking about in other classes. My reflection. You can look at it different ways. One way to look at it is that my Jivatvam is a reflection. Okay. Here Swami Maheshanji pointed out that if you examine the reflection of oneself in a mirror, first of all, the reflection is not real. So this much we had studied, I had also studied, and it looks like the real, but it's not real. Very obvious. But the one thing that Swami Maheshanji pointed out is that the reflection is not a complete replica of you. What does it mean? Just listen to this, it's interesting. We know that it is not real, but we don't think about the fact that the reflection is an incomplete replica of me. How? Because I don't see my back in the reflection. See, if somebody took a 3D image of me and put it on the TV, a 3D image, from all sides, I am rotating and it looks at my back and so on and so forth, everything. That would be somewhat of a complete reflection. But if you look at yourself in the mirror, all you see is the front of you, not the back of you. Now, why am I saying this? What is the significance of this? This is an important thing to see. I mentioned in the very first class that, and this is pointed out by Swami Maheshananji in the commentary of the first verse itself, which is a very beautiful commentary. It goes around 2 or 3 pages. There he said, and I mentioned this in the first class, there he said that looking at the Sat aspect of Brahman is difficult but relatively easy. Looking at the Chit aspect of Brahman is more difficult. And looking at the Ananda aspect of Brahman is even more difficult. And now I will complete this example of the reflection being an incomplete version of me. You know what? It, like a reflection, does not show your back. Similarly, my estimation of myself as a jiva completely hides the fact that I am Ananda Swarupa. Completely. This is why it is more difficult. Because our minds say, what is Vedanta saying? How can I be the very source of Ananda when I am miserable? How can it be? Doesn't make any sense. So you don't even go deep into analyzing it. You just reject it right away. There must be some mistake somewhere. They must be trying to recruit me for something. This is how the mind works. It's true. And the reason why it is true is that reflections are an incomplete version of the bimba. This is pratibimba. When I read that in some other book, I forget which one, I think it was in Panchadashi, that made a lot of sense to me. So the job of pointing out that you got yourself completely wrong, you are the only source of Ananda for the whole world, because this is Brahman. Is just the opposite side of this North Pole versus South Pole. I think I am so miserable. I am trembling at the thought that I might get coronavirus. I am so dependent on it. I'm washing my hands. I'm wearing gloves and masks. And I should be teaching this class wearing a mask. Really, that will prove to all of you, this guy really gets it. So we do all of that, really. And we are told that if you get a mail, then pick it up with some gloves and don't touch it for about 3 days. This is how vulnerable we are with an enemy that I cannot see. And in the meantime, the Vedanta comes in and says, no, you are the very reality of the whole world. I don't go very far in understanding it. So anyway, going back to the subtopic of the 11 to 26, it analyzes and examines the nature of Ananda. So there are quite a few things included in this subtopic. First of all, the various types of Ananda, Brahmananda, Vidyananda, Vishayananda, Vasanananda, are talked about in this subtopic. These all have to be they all have to be identified. They have to be articulated and identified. That this, when you are experiencing some happiness, it is categorized of this type. Then when you have an experience of a different kind of, and this will all come, hopefully we'll have some time to discuss all of this. Beautiful descriptions of this. And so all of them are what I would call categorized, identified as different segments of Ananda. And why do we do that? Again, in Swami Tattvavedanandaji's words that he used when he was here for his talks, and he was very tough about it, not for gaining information. Oh, I know. Did you know that there are, it's interesting, I'll interrupt myself. Later on there's a dialogue here which says that by knowing Brahman, you will be you'll be completely happy. This is what it is said. So, as a way of creating doubts amongst, a way of dispelling the doubts, a doubt is created. And the doubt is, okay, you've told me about the Brahmananda, and now I know it, but I'm still not happy. So you cannot generalize it. And so then the person says, you say you know Brahmananda, but you don't. He says, what do you mean? You said Brahmananda is one which is complete, and there's only one, and I accept it. I accept it, yes. But I am not happy. So here he says that it is exactly like there was a king who said, anyone who can tell me the Vedas, I will give them $1 billion rupees. So one guy showed up and he says, I know the Vedas. So there's Rig Veda, there's Yajur Veda, there's Sama Veda, and there is Atharva Veda. So the king said, well, that's wonderful. Okay, so tell me about them. He says, no, that's all you asked for. How many Vedas are there? I've already told you, so give me the $1 billion. The king said, oh my God, what an utter fool. This is exactly what the situation is. That you read about this like an information and you feel, now I'm done. I now know everything. No. And so by giving the various categorization of the Ananda, that is not information. What it is, now that you have categorized it, please follow my direction and follow that all those subcategories of Anandas are flowing from you. See this fact. Close your eyes and experience this as your Anubhava. And slowly your mind will see, my gosh. So this is what this whole chapter is going to say. That first you tell them what it is, Then we have to find out why we don't really understand it. What are the doubts? How do I clear my doubts and slowly turn my mind inward by tasting the fact that, my goodness, I am the very Ananda that I'm seeking. It's a process. It's not just it's not like saying this guy, there are 4 Vedas and I'm done. No, it isn't like that. So anyway, the different types of Ananda are taken up. Then some of them are described in this subsection and some of them are described in later subsections. So here, for example, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a dialogue between Bhrigu and we have taken the Taittiriya Upanishad, dialogue between Bhrigu and his father Varuni. And so Bhrigu wants to know the Lakshana. The Lakshana means a unique definition of something is called Lakshana, which distinguishes it from everything else. From everything else. Like, for instance, if I were to ask you, what is the Lakshana of a human being? All human beings. What is the unique Lakshana for a human being? What we will have to say is, a human being is the one who, unless there are some exceptions, is born with 2 legs, 2 hands, torso, brain, and so on, and has 3 states that are repeated every day: waking, dream, and deep sleep. This is constant repetition. While the body is born as a baby from the womb of a mother and then rises and becomes completely full scale and then starts to diminish and goes away. This is the Lakshana of a human being. This would be a airtight, unique definition, what is called Lakshana of a human being, right? All human beings. So similarly, Bhrigu and Varuni are having a discussion. Not a discussion, Bhrigu is asking and Varuni is answering. What is the Lakshana of Brahman? So he comes up and Varuni says, well, he's the one that gives you prana. Okay, so he goes back and he says, if that is the prana, the source of prana is Brahman. That is the Lakshana. Bhrigu says no. Go back and think some more. And he comes back and he says, maybe the mind is the Lakshana. Bhrigu says no. Varuni keeps saying no. In the end, he says, Ananda is the Lakshana. And Varuni says, you got it. That is the Lakshana. So the main Lakshana of Ishvara, of Brahman, which is the same as yours, is Brahmananda. This is the Lakshana. This is the unique definition that distinguishes it from everything else. And so this is also called Bhuma in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and other Upanishads. Bhuma. Bhuma means undifferentiated, infinite, non-dual, Ananda. This is called Brahmananda, which is the Lakshana. And so when Bhrigu comes back with that answers, Varuni says, Shabash, good. You got it. So this is described in this subsection, subcategory 853. Let me speed up a little bit. Yes. So another concept in this subcategory is a dialogue between Narada and his and Sanat Kumara. Narada and Sanat Kumara. This is also an important one, where Narada, we have this term called Renaissance man. This is the modern definition of a well-rounded, well-qualified, knowledgeable in many different fields. You can be an architect, you could be a designer, you could be a philosopher, you could be a musician, all those in one person. Very difficult to find. So Narada was the absolute best amongst everybody. He knew literature, he knew mathematics, he knew calculus, he knew grammar, you name it, he was a expert in all of them. This is called Narada. And so he approached Sanat Kumara and said, "Sir, I am not a very happy person." And Narada said, "Why? You are highly regarded by everybody. It's like whenever you you're being followed on Twitter more than anyone else, and you're the one you are coming to me." He says, "Sir, don't joke with me. You know me." He was very accomplished. And so this section is accomplishments and worldly knowledge don't mean anything. You can be very accomplished and in fact, you'll probably be more unhappy when you are more accomplished. Just the other day, my wife and I just happened to see, we were just looking at it, about the very tragic life of Robin Williams. One of the most genuinely funny people who everybody, every time I'd see him, I'd love to see and hear Robin Williams. And Pami and I were just discussing what a tragedy that he committed suicide, as you know. And I was thinking, his brand of comedy was very rajasic, very hyper. He had no peace of mind. And as long as he was making people happy and with his jokes and so on, he felt good. But he had depression. Anyway, that's a separate thing altogether. But here in this subtopic, what it says, accomplishments and worldly knowledge are worth nothing when it comes to your own inner happiness. And Narada went to Sanat Kumara and says, "Sir, you know that very well. So please teach me Atma Vidya. This is the thing that I want to learn." Then, I think I'll finish this subtopic and another subtopic, and then I think that's all the time that we will have. So one other thing about this subtopic, and this will be picked up quite a bit, this is an important thing to see, is that whenever there is a triad, a threesome of knower, known, knowledge, doer, to be done, work, this kind of a thing, there is not much happiness. As long as we have the status that I am a jnata, I'm not the sakshi, but I'm just a knower. As in Gita also it says, the knower, one is the field and the other one is the knower of the field. So the field is what is called jnaya, what is to be known, and jnata means the knower. This triad, as long as it is there, which is our life. So as a jiva, I'm a karta, I'm a bhokta, I'm a knower, not knower. This is what it's all about. Here the definition says, as long as that status is there, then you are not happy. My question is, how can that status not be there? Because if I'm born as a human being, how can that do that? So this is the Naishkarmya Siddhi, means not really. Even while you are alive, you can figure out you are not the doer. Your mind is the doer. It is like, something like, I'll give the example, that if you're looking yourself in the reflection in the mirror, and the reflection is trembling. It is trembling. And it is trembling because of the waviness of the water, let's say. Something like this. So yeah, it is trembling. But you are not trembling. Your reflection is trembling. So similarly, my mind is active. And in the Robin Williams case, the mind was hyperactive, depressed, whatever it was. But you are not the mind. This is the thing that we have to see. So as long as there is a triad, then your estimation of who you are is incorrect. So this is one of the subtopics in here. Then the next subtopic is verses number 27 to 32. And what it means is that what it says, not what it means, what it says is that the Advaita, Bhuma, the complete, the person, Brahma, Bhuma, Advaita, all are the same kind of a thing. This is self-existing and self-effulgent. It has to be, because it cannot be dependent on anything else. Otherwise it is not happy. Any dependence is not happiness. And it's not complete. Only an independent person, here not even a person, is the vastu. Vastu means a very entity. Has to be self-effulgent and self-existing. So there is a discussion. And here, for example, there is a discussion here that this is just a concept. You are producing a theory which doesn't exist, and so this is the thing that now things are starting to put together. First of all these pieces are there, and then they will all be put together. So one of the things is, no, it is not theoretical. The Bhuma, the Advaya, which is self-existing, is experienced by you in your deep sleep. Everyone. Not a few privileged people. Everyone is given a taste of non-duality in their sleep. And so there is a very beautiful description, a beautiful enunciation that this sense of non-duality is not as a result of anything. It is natural to yourself and self-existing and self-effulgent. Okay, so this is the subtopic of verse number 27 to 32. And so in verse number 27 to 32, it was saying this is not just theoretical, this is not just yukti. See this? This is not just yukti, it is anubhava. Anubhava. Yukti is that something which is bhuma, which is infinite, cannot have any triads. It is the whole thing. So that means that even the jnata is bhuma, jnaya is bhuma, jnanam is bhuma, everything. So for example, in the example of a dream, the dream character, the seer, the various other characters, the dream itself, everything is nothing but you alone. So in that manner, this is the theoretical one. Then in number 27 to 32 it says, but that's not my experience. And the answer is, yes it is. Don't you see that this is in your deep sleep? So then that topic is finished, and the next topic will start from number 33, goes up to 42, and that topic will be, okay, I now see that it is bhuma is self-existing, but you have not proven it to me that bhuma, advaya, Brahma is Ananda. That is the next topic which we will do in the next class next week. So with that I close off today's class. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. All right. Let's see if there's any questions. Ashish, Suvarna, Satish, S.M. Lal, Jugal Kishore, Larry Lopez, Kalpana Dave, Maithili, Sulekha. These are the only people that have put in their names. Very few. Most people don't, for whatever reason. I guess that's okay. 31 people watching, 30 people, but only a few people have identified, and I don't see any questions. So I will pause for a few minutes and see if you have any questions. And my request is to please just log in so that I can see who's there at least. Give me that privilege at least to do that. I'm not sure why you're not putting your name down, so I would request that you please do so. Rani, besides deep sleep, where else do you experience non-duality in your life? It's sexual union is another place where you have a non-duality, and that is why Ishvara has made the procreation process so pleasant. This will happen in this will be described some other places also. So in a sexual union, you don't have any inside, any outside. You don't have any. It's a complete non-dual experience. So that is another one for that. But but sleep is more common to both children and old people and young and I mean poor and rich and so on. So that is the one that is counted more. Okay, any other questions? Nothing that I see so far. Wait for another minute or two. This person by the two initials VJ, I'm not sure who you are. If you could just identify your name, I'd appreciate it. I think you did that last week also. I'm not sure who you are, so if you could do that, that'd be good. Or you can just send me an email later on, whatever. All right, doesn't look like there's any more questions. So with that, I take your leave and we will continue this next week. Hari Om. Thank you.